Tiffany Henyard has a new battle on her hands.
She is being evicted for not paying her rent, and now her landlord is talking about her past tenant troubles.
At some point, you have to understand that karma is going to catch up to you.
It's a power grab.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the self-proclaimed super mayor, has become a deeply controversial figure amid a series of extravagant spending habits that have dramatically affected her political standing. Despite her once affluent lifestyle, Henyard now faces a growing storm of financial and legal troubles, culminating in her eviction from her home, a move that symbolizes the unraveling of her career. What started as a personal issue surrounding unpaid rent has evolved into a broader reflection of her leadership, or lack thereof, raising urgent questions about accountability in public office. Before the eviction, Henyard was seen living lavishly, enjoying a lifestyle that starkly contrasted with the struggles of her constituents. While local officials scrambled to address growing political fallout, Henyard was indulging in luxury vacations, including an extravagant Las Vegas trip where she spent over $8,000 on hotels, flights, and fine dining. Her lavish spending extended to a $1 million personal police detail, an $888,000 budget for beauty treatments, first-class travel, and high-end dining. An indulgence that seemed out of touch with the economic hardships faced by the residents of Dalton, Illinois, where she served as mayor. As inquiries into her use of public funds mounted, Henyard's political survival began to falter. Her refusal to take responsibility for her financial decisions and the growing backlash against her extravagant lifestyle painted a grim picture of her leadership. Meanwhile, Dalton's residents continued to struggle with inadequate services, rising debt, and a lack of resources, all while Henyard seemed preoccupied with maintaining a public image rather than addressing their concerns. The eviction issue itself began when Henyard and her partner, Kamal Woods, became embroiled in a legal battle with their landlord. After their rent was raised by $200 to $2,400 a month, Henyard allegedly refused to allow the landlord to inspect the property and failed to pay rent, accumulating a debt of $3,350. Despite the mounting rent arrears, Henyard and Woods reportedly prioritized luxury vacations over paying their rent, deepening the rift with their landlord. The situation escalated when the landlord, recently unemployed, was forced to file for eviction. The entire ordeal has sparked outrage among Dalton residents, many of whom view Henyard's actions as a betrayal of the trust placed in her as their leader. The failure to meet even the most basic responsibilities, like paying rent, has come to symbolize the broader dysfunction of her administration, which has been marked by financial mismanagement, lack of transparency, and an ongoing FBI investigation. The growing public frustration with Henyard's leadership has intensified as the eviction process exposed her lack of accountability. Legal battles have ensued as local watchdog groups and journalists have sought to access financial records, only to be met with resistance and delays. Henyard's refusal to provide the requested information has led to increased suspicion about her administration's handling of public funds. Meanwhile, an FBI investigation into her financial dealings, including allegations of misuse of public funds for personal gain, has only added fuel to the fire. The situation surrounding Henyard's eviction is not just about unpaid rent. It has become emblematic of the failure of her leadership. Her refusal to be transparent about her finances and to take responsibility for her actions has eroded public trust. Critics argue that Henyard's behavior reflects a broader pattern of avoiding accountability, with her focus on self-interest overshadowing her duty to serve the people of Dalton. Once seen as a powerful figure, Henyard now finds herself at the center of a growing controversy, with both her personal and professional lives under intense scrutiny. The community, already grappling with financial difficulties and ineffective governance, is left questioning whether she can recover from the scandals that have plagued her tenure. As the eviction dispute continues to unfold, it highlights the deepening crisis of leadership in Dalton, where Henyard's personal excess and failure to meet the needs of the community have created a widening divide. Henyard's time in office now seems increasingly untenable. Her refusal to accept responsibility, combined with her lavish spending and lack of transparency, has left her isolated, even from those who once supported her. The growing pressure, both legal and political, and the increasing frustration among Dalton's residents suggest that her political future is uncertain. What was initially seen as a personal issue, the eviction, has become a defining moment, symbolizing the collapse of Henyard's leadership and marking a potential turning point in her troubled tenure. With an FBI investigation and rising calls for her resignation, Henyard's position as mayor now appears to be hanging by a thread. Whether she can weather this storm, or whether the mounting evidence of misconduct will finally catch up to her, remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: Henyard's time in office is rapidly approaching its end, and her once prominent political career may soon be over. Mayor Tiffany Henyard's tenure in Dalton has been marred by a series of scandals, investigations, and growing public controversy. While her ongoing eviction crisis has drawn attention to her personal troubles, it is merely the tip of the iceberg in a broader range of allegations extending far beyond her private life. One of the most damaging accusations against Henyard involves the mismanagement of Dalton's finances. A probe led by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot revealed a concerning $3.65 million deficit in the town's general fund, underscoring poor financial stewardship in a community already struggling with limited resources. This financial mismanagement is further compounded by an FBI investigation, which has uncovered serious allegations ranging from her indirect involvement in a sexual assault case to claims of wrongful terminations. These revelations have fueled public outrage, intensifying scrutiny of Henyard's leadership. As tensions rise, residents have become increasingly frustrated with Henyard's refusal to address critical community needs. Her leadership as supervisor of Thorne Township has also come under fire, with local trustees demanding greater transparency about her financial activities. Critics accuse her of mishandling taxpayer funds, further fueling distrust among the community. One of the most troubling allegations comes from local business owner Lawrence Gardner, who claims his trucking company was forced to donate $3,500 to Henyard's campaign in exchange for a village license. Gardner contends that after he stopped contributing, his license renewal was abruptly denied, suggesting a pay-to-play scheme that exploits local businesses. The FBI has interviewed Gardner, as well as other concerned Dalton residents, adding to the mounting pressure on Henyard as the federal investigation deepens. Compounding the controversy is Henyard's nonprofit organization, Tiffany Henyard Cares *, which has faced heavy criticism for questionable practices. The Illinois Attorney General's office issued a demand for action after the nonprofit, which was supposed to aid cancer patients, failed to submit required financial reports. This has raised suspicions about whether the organization is truly serving the community or being used for personal gain, further tarnishing Henyard's public image. Henyard's leadership has been marked by accusations of self-interest, secrecy, and a lack of accountability. Residents who once hoped for progress under her leadership are now grappling with allegations that paint her as disconnected from their struggles. Reports of extravagant travel expenses, luxury purchases, and unaddressed issues in infrastructure, education, and public safety have led to the perception that Henyard prioritizes her personal interests over the well-being of Dalton citizens. Despite growing discontent, Henyard continues to frame herself as a victim of political attacks. However, many locals find this narrative difficult to accept, given the harsh financial realities they face. The alleged misuse of her nonprofit, excessive spending, and reports of businesses being coerced into contributing to her campaign paint a troubling picture of a leader who is increasingly out of touch with the community. Henyard's resistance to transparency has only exacerbated tensions with local trustees and watchdog groups, who have struggled to obtain financial records. Her stonewalling has led to legal action and state intervention to force compliance with requests for information. This pattern of avoidance has come to define her leadership style, fueling suspicions that she is attempting to conceal unethical behavior and financial mismanagement. For Dalton's taxpayers, the lack of transparency feels like a betrayal, especially as the community faces significant challenges in infrastructure and public services. With the FBI investigation, growing public dissatisfaction, and the unresolved financial crisis, the future of Dalton remains uncertain. Once seen as a powerful figure, Henyard now finds her credibility and support rapidly eroding. Despite her attempts to present herself as a victim, the mounting evidence against her and continued pressure from federal authorities and local residents suggest her time as mayor may be coming to an end.
At some point, you have to understand that karma is going to catch up to you.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard's tenure has been overshadowed by scandal, mismanagement, and controversy, with her financial struggles, legal battles, and ongoing federal investigations taking center stage. Despite facing multiple lawsuits, an eviction notice, and a federal probe, Henyard has continually denied any wrongdoing. Her spokesperson claims she is unaware of any FBI inquiries or subpoenas, a statement that grows increasingly difficult to believe as more accusations mount against her. With her reputation shattered and her political career hanging by a thread, many are questioning how much longer Henyard can maintain her grip on power. Once a powerful figure in Dalton, Henyard's status is rapidly diminishing. Her name is now synonymous with controversy, leaving residents and political insiders wondering how long she can continue leading. Her leadership appears to be faltering, and her actions seem to invite chaos at every turn. The pivotal moment came during a recent Democratic caucus for Thornton Township, held to select candidates for leadership positions. For the first time in 30 years, the caucus process was used to select candidates, and it resulted in a surprise outcome. Henyard, hoping to secure the supervisor position, was disqualified from the ballot due to a critical oversight. She failed to include a professional assessor on her slate, a requirement for the caucus. This disqualification marked a major setback for Henyard's political aspirations. The caucus quickly reached a boiling point, with Henyard's political allies fracturing and her slate collapsing. The situation grew even more humiliating when State Senator Napoleon Harris, who also serves as the Thornton Township Democratic Committeeman, capitalized on the chaos to solidify his position. Harris orchestrated the caucus process and won the support of the crowd, leaving Henyard largely sidelined. Henyard, unwilling to accept defeat, stormed out of the caucus in visible anger, accusing Harris and his team of rigging the process. Dressed in a bright pink outfit, she was defiant, but her outburst only added to her downfall. As Harris made the official announcement of his nomination, the crowd erupted in applause, and Henyard was met with chants of "Na na hey hey," goodbye as she left the venue. This public humiliation seemed to seal her political demise. In a last-ditch effort, Henyard tried to rally support by bringing in buses full of followers from Thornton Township. However, her plan backfired when many of the buses arrived late, leaving her supporters stranded outside. In a fit of anger, Henyard accused the caucus process of voter suppression, even claiming the entire event was illegal. She threatened to sue those involved, but legal experts, including Harris's attorney, dismissed her threats as baseless. Harris's attorney, Burton Olds, clarified that the caucus was a legitimate and democratic process, and Henyard had no legal grounds to challenge it. Despite Henyard's continued protests, the caucus was widely viewed as a fair and necessary step toward ensuring leadership that is in tune with the community's needs. Henyard's attempt to discredit the process failed, and Harris emerged victorious. The fallout from this event has further jeopardized her political future. While some of her supporters still hold out hope for a comeback, others are beginning to distance themselves, acknowledging that her time in office may be drawing to a close. As Henyard's rivals, including Harris and Mayor Christopher Clark of Harvey, prepare to take on leadership roles, her remaining supporters are divided. Some continue to believe she can pull off a political miracle, while others are now applauding her downfall. The path forward for Henyard appears uncertain. The only option for her to remain in the race would be to run as a write-in candidate, a long shot at best. Many locals argue that Henyard's political career has been defined by scandal, poor decisions, and an inability to govern effectively. As Dalton and Thornton Township continue to grapple with the fallout from her leadership, the prospect of change seems inevitable. Chris Gonzalez, the Democratic nominee for Thornton Township trustee, expressed a desire to restore order to the township, saying, "We want to get the township back on track." His comments reflect the growing consensus that Henyard's reckless and careless leadership has done more harm than good. Once a powerful figure in Dalton, Henyard now finds herself at a crossroads. Her political future hangs in the balance, with little support left. The chaos surrounding her leadership, compounded by the ongoing federal investigation and the fallout from her failed re-election bid, leaves Dalton's future uncertain. As residents and political insiders await her next move, it seems increasingly likely that Henyard's time in office will soon come to an end. Mayor Tiffany Henyard's time in office has been defined by a growing series of scandals, financial mismanagement, and mounting public dissatisfaction. Critics argue that her administration's actions have harmed the very residents she was elected to serve, pointing to issues such as the misuse of township resources, failure to hold meetings, and an overall lack of attention to the community's needs. The situation has become so dire that even some of her staunchest supporters are now calling for her resignation. Henyard's tenure has been met with significant pushback, particularly from residents and trustees who feel neglected and frustrated by her handling of the town's affairs. "You should step down as mayor because your administration is failing," said one critic, emphasizing the ongoing concerns about Henyard's inability to govern effectively. The recent boycott of meetings by trustees like Gonzalez and Carlisle is a clear reflection of this growing disillusionment. Their absence from meetings serves as a public statement of disapproval, fueled by what they perceive as Henyard's ambitions to consolidate more power for herself. Henyard's critics believe the time has come for her to step down. They point to her control over hiring and firing decisions, which they claim gives her excessive influence over the local government. Trustee Gonzalez has voiced concerns about restricting Henyard's financial influence, adding to the narrative that she is more interested in personal gain than in the welfare of the community. In her defense, Henyard argues that the issues are a result of obstruction, not mismanagement. She contends that residents are left vulnerable because they lack insurance, and that the trustees' boycott is an attempt to undermine her leadership. However, many locals view her claims as another attempt to shift the blame for the problems she has contributed to. Henyard's legal threats are seen by many as desperate attempts to cling to power, while trustees earn praise for standing up to her leadership. Despite Henyard's defiant stance, her administration has left Dalton in turmoil. From financial struggles to a lack of basic public services, residents feel that their needs have been ignored as Henyard focuses on her own interests. Critics point to her lavish spending on self-promotion, luxury travel, and expensive meals funded by taxpayer dollars as a blatant disregard for the hardships faced by Dalton residents. Many believe that her actions have only worsened the town's financial situation, leaving the community in a state of uncertainty. The stakes are higher than ever, especially as the future of Thornton Township hangs in the balance. Henyard's ability to overcome mounting opposition and secure her spot on the ballot remains uncertain. Known for avoiding difficult situations and going silent when under scrutiny, Henyard's response to a damning financial report came as a surprise. The report, conducted by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, uncovered troubling details about Dalton's financial instability. It revealed a $3.65 million deficit in the town's general fund, along with allegations of unregulated credit card use, misuse of taxpayer money, and questionable expenditures on perks and self-promotion. The findings painted a grim picture of financial mismanagement, leaving many residents wondering how much longer Henyard can hold on to power. One of the most shocking revelations from Lightfoot's report was that $40,000 worth of Amazon purchases were made on a single day, with no clear record of what the money was spent on. Additionally, the report highlighted a significant increase in police overtime pay, with one officer reportedly earning $188,000 in overtime last year, more than double their $72,000 base salary. These revelations raise serious questions about Dalton's financial management, especially considering the town's already precarious position. Despite these troubling findings, Henyard has remained largely silent, avoiding media questions and keeping employees in the dark about her whereabouts. Trustees like Brittany Norwood have expressed concerns about the lack of transparency in Dalton's financial records, fearing that the town's debt may be even larger than originally reported. Norwood has been outspoken about being denied access to bank statements, further fueling suspicions of financial misconduct within Henyard's administration. The most serious accusations against Henyard involve her alleged misuse of public funds for personal gain. Critics point to her spending taxpayer money on expensive billboards, dinners, and lavish travel. The recent controversy surrounding Deputy Chief Lacey, who was placed on administrative leave after allegedly pocketing $96,000 in overtime pay, has raised further concerns about Dalton's resource management. With creditors pressing for payment and the town's cash reserves dwindling, Lightfoot's report paints a bleak picture of a community in financial crisis. The concerns raised in Lightfoot's report suggest that Dalton's financial woes go beyond simple overspending. They point to a deeper, systemic lack of accountability within Henyard's administration. As the public demands answers, it remains unclear whether Henyard can weather the storm or if the mounting evidence will catch up with her. The situation in Dalton is far from resolved, and with increasing calls for Henyard's resignation and an ongoing federal investigation, her political future remains uncertain. As the town grapples with its financial troubles, many are left wondering if Henyard can overcome mounting opposition and growing demands for accountability. The stakes are high, and the outcome remains to be seen. If you'd like more updates on this ongoing story, be sure to like and subscribe.